All right, howdy y'all. It's me, Tanner, and we're gonna do something a little bit different on our video today. You guys will still see the clips of us going up on an adventure and stuff like that, but what I really want to do is give you guys a sense of what happened when we were in the region that we ended up touring into, and our objective in our place that we wanted to go. So let's kind of see if we can fast forward the clips a little bit. You get some good clips here, you get some good clips there. Okay, well, now we're making our way into the actual region that's not really tracked all that much. Doesn't have a lot of foot traffic, and it's a relatively unknown spot. You guys are not gonna get the spot name because we still want to go back there, and we don't want. Geotagging is a whole nother thing that I can go into, but I'm not gonna do it right now. Anyway, when we're in the spot, you can see we got to the spot, and of course we looked at the zone that we were going to ski, and we decided to do our snow puts, because it's good to do snow puts. Like, if you're touring, you got to know what's underneath you. You got to know what's going to happen with it. And so with that, I'll bring Robbie on again. All right, so here's Robbie. Robbie, say hi.
Hi, folks.
Okay. So Robbie's going to explain to us the science behind. We did 3 tests on this snow pit that we dug. So what were the 3 tests?
So we did a series of 3 different tests. We did a first test, what's called a compression test. The second test was an extended column test, and the third test was a propagation saw test.
Now, the interesting part about this was we had a pretty deep snowpack at this region, didn't we?
Yeah, it was a little over 180 centimeters.
And
it was like above the height of me.
And with that, you can't really get a good sense, especially with ECT, of what's going to happen with those deep layers. So what do we do with that?
Right. Especially with the ECT and the compression test, once you get past depths of like around a meter, the force at which you're applying on top of, or like to the shovel to your snow tests is dispersing through the snowpack, and because the snowpack is so deep, the force isn't impacting the weak layers at the ground. So what you do in that situation is you remove the overlying snow except for 15 centimeters, and you perform something that's called a deep tap test, and that essentially exposes the weak layer to stresses that would be experienced if it were shallower.
Okay. And so that's for 2 of the tests, correct? And then we performed a third test, which was...
The third test was a propagation saw test, which is... that's for when you have snowpacks that are deeper than a meter, and you want to test the propagation potential of a slope without having to remove that overlying snow.
Mm-hmm. So with all these 3 tests performed, what was our results out of them?
The surprising part is we didn't get any results between all 3 tests. The reason we did more than one test is that like the propagation saw test, for example, has a really high rate of false stability. So you can't exactly trust the results from one test, which is why we're doing more than one. But otherwise, between the 3 tests, we still didn't have any significant results.
So that was where, like, we were looking at this face that we were attempting to ski, and we were like, oh, this will probably be really good to ski up. So we ended up making our way up the kind of a treed area with kind of a lower. It was the lowest angle that we could see to get up.
That was within our realm.
Yeah. So then we got on top, and on this face that we were gonna ski, we had, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 cornices that were overhanging. Like there's a bit of cornice.
Yeah, the whole slope.
So we decided to cut the nearest one to where we were. That was kind of the smallest one out of the bunch that we could get a rope around and start to cut it, which is what we did. And it was like, this is another form of a stability test, essentially, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whereas like you have,
I mean, it's more effective than anything we would do in a snow pit, because you're just, it's like the ski resort equivalent of explosives.
Right. Yeah, because it'll put that weight on the snow, and if anything happens,
thousands of pounds of snow all at once.
Yeah. So we ended up it was Robbie and our other friend up there cutting with a rope, and I was down at the side videotaping it just to see what was going to happen. And I don't know, it was probably about 10 minutes, I think, because I had to redo this a couple times, like stop and then start again. But finally, we got this to go, and the subsequent clip right here is what you're going to see is what happened after that. So here's the clip.
Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Oh, there it goes! Oh, fuck.
We didn't see that. Wow.
Oh, fuck.
Well, we can see it now. I don't know if I want to.
Holy shit.
That's a big boy. Holy shit. Hear the trees? Holy damn. I am so puckered right now.
Oh,
Wow.
fuck.
But you see where it went? Holy.
Dude, I mean, it's.
I'm so glad we cut that.
Oh,
How's the hang fire look?
well, come over. I mean, come over here and check it out.
All right, so saw that clip, and the darn, like the whole hillside just went, and so we're all up there, and we're looking at this thing happen, and of course, I was watching, and we were watching, and there was nobody around, and we ended up performing a search after that just to be sure of like nothing happening with that, and we were pretty confident that was nobody's in the region because we could see no tracks going in. We were the only tracks going in. So that was good. But we were all kind of freaked out at the top. We were wondering what the heck just happened because our snow pits results didn't say this was going to happen, essentially. We knew the deep slab problem was there because it's been there for a couple months now. But what was the kind of the afterthought of this whole thing?
I think it's a good ode to how spatial variability within the snowpack can really be misleading. Where we dug that pit, it was over 6 feet deep, and even with all our tests, there isn't really any way to trigger those weak layers of the ground just because there's so much snow. But I think what the avalanche revealed was there was less depth overall in the place that we wanted to ski, and then also where the avalanche was initially triggered was in a much shallower spot, and then it propagated upslope to where the areas were deeper.
Yeah, and we were thinking the crown on that was probably 4 or 5 feet.
Yeah, like 3 to 5 feet
at the most. Yeah, so it was interesting. It was definitely interesting to see.
Yeah, which never hurts to do an additional stability test.
Yeah, which is essentially the lesson that came out of here. But we all were wondering, kind of, was there anything that we did wrong in this sense? Is there, because usually you don't, like, if you trigger an avalanche, something went wrong in your thought process because we weren't sure that was going to happen, essentially. But I think in reviewing all of this, we understood that it's just the snowpack variability that ended up was the main factor in this.
Yeah. And
oh, go ahead.
Within, like, we did everything within our realm of capability to make sure that the slope was stable. And, even as we're skinning up, I was looking for all of these, like, trying to identify any form of red flag. We saw that there were some day-old wet slides that had come down, but even the force of those wet slides hadn't stepped down to that weak layer. And in addition to that, skinning up the morning, we didn't see anything else.
Yeah.
And I think we did everything right. It's just that low chance, high consequence event that just happened to occur when we were out there.
Yeah. Well, and we dropped that cornice, and that cornice It's a big giveaway.
It's a great way to test the slope if you're unsure about it.
Yep. So, I think what's the conclusions? What's the good thing that came? I mean,
we had really good group dynamics and decision making while we were out there. You know, I was in the mindset of I wouldn't have skied that slope had we not done another stability test, just because I was unsure of what was at the ground. And I think that's important, not only with my decision making, but with our entire group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. We skinned out, and it was like we lived to ski another day.
Yeah, I
and
got some beer.
Yeah, got some beer. That's exactly, the beer was the good part. So, anyway, guys, thank you for watching. If you're watching up to this point, thank you, and just be careful and be safe when you're out in the backcountry, and just use all the information and knowledge that you have in assessing the conditions and stuff like that. And we try to do that every single time and try to make good informed decisions when we're touring, because you know you can ski 100 of these near misses, but it only takes one to mess up your day and mess up your life. So
This also wasn't very scientific, but also going with your gut, I think, is really important too, just because you can do all the science in the world, but if you don't feel right, if something doesn't feel right, then you should probably go with that instinct.
yeah, just turn around. Turn around's the easiest. Like, you can just turn right around. So anyway, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next adventure.